used to live with an old monk. Spent some time with him years ago. And one thing that I really admired him is that his mind is very, very flexible. I wasn't a monk in that time yet. I was a lay, Buddhist lay person, working around the temple, maintaining the temple. And I have a very bad habit that I was very sloppy. Everything I do, I just leave it there. And the monk, kept following me around, clear my mess off. As I work, I throw tools around, and then he just pick them up, and then put them in order. So, great monk. This morning I heard the news that he passed away. It's not that he has his life served. All of us are going through 4 phases. Getting born, getting old, get sick, and the final phases. You all know that. And he has his 4 phrases well done already. I don't know that if I have my 3rd or 4th phrase that being done or not. So, but anyway, my way of sharing is that I tone myself down quite a bit so that either the newcomers can get absorbed it, or even an experienced one still can do it because of in the four foundations of mindfulness. If you are quick, you can capture the whole meaning of the Sutra right away at the very, very beginning. The Buddha said, clearly knowing. That's it. If you can grasp hold of it, then you don't need to go into the Sutra, read chapter by chapter by chapter by chapter, because at the very end, it's going to be the same thing, clearly knowing. And of course, if you go chapter by chapter, there is a more detailed dissections, into it too. So it becomes kind of complicated, but it's in the way that if we all created by our own karma. So there's no blame on what. Either you get it right away or you don't know it, and then you have to grow. You have to go in a gradual steps. I don't use much or none of the Zen language. I think that this obsoleted because of that was 1,000 years ago, and if I put it right here in this modern way of teaching, then it's not appropriate, such as sometimes, for example, that someone come and ask, what is the essence of all essences? And then the Zen master reply in a observe gesture, bodily gesture, or words like, what is the essence of all essences? And that's it. If you don't understand, you're dead. So it's very tough to bring such a Zen language to this modern day. Recently, actually, it was on Monday that I have a talk with a big monk coming here from Sri Lanka, and we brought the subject to the consciousness. And he said it's a vast subject. It's very, very hard because it's so abstract. But I think that with a little bit of investigation, we all can go into it, and you understand what it is, the nature of reality, the nature of the mind, the nature of the consciousness. Going back to the word clearly knowing, perhaps the better definition of consciousness is that to be conscious. That's easier to understand. Let's say that, are you conscious right now? Of course, we're all conscious. Conscious of what? If you listen to me, then you are conscious of what I'm talking about. But if I'm telling you that, can you be conscious to your body? Now, go ahead. Do being conscious to your body. Then your attention goes back to your body. You feel the whole thing. You are conscious of the body. Or you can say that I'm saying that can you be conscious to the sensation of your body? Then you can feel the heaviness, the roughness, touching between the floor and your bottoms. Feel it. So, in every object, either internally or externally, there is a consciousness goes with it. We are conscious. And the thing is that if we are not familiar with it, then immediately right after each experience, there is a kind of perception, kind of conscious, a kind of delusion that I am conscious. I am conscious of something. But in reality, there is no you that conscious. It's just a natural phenomena of body-mind, the materials and mental formation that is going on that makes up the whole experience. Quite often that people will be mistaken that the consciousness, to being conscious as I. It is not. And if you can actually discern what that is, then you're halfway to liberation. It's rather every experience there is a knowing right there. You cannot deny it. And from there, of course, that when we don't know what consciousness is, then we have to rely upon the sense doors plus the external concomitant, sense object, like the sound, the taste, the touch, the sight, such a thing like that. But it's just like this. Etymology. Something that you never heard before. Something that you're unfamiliar of. You have no idea what that is. Then you cannot, grasp hold of it. For instance, that the taste of the stinky tofu. This is the first time you've heard of it, then you don't have any concept about it. But then once you heard of it, you have a little bit of notion about it, and then you do a little bit of investigation, the stinky tofu, what it is, such and such, and then you go deeper in connotation about the stinky tofu. Then you begin to have a rough conceptual about stinky tofu. So you have a little inkling about it already. But until that you really taste it, then it becomes the fact to you. Oh, the stinky tofu tastes like this, such and such. Same thing. If you never dabble yourself into the internal mental formation, then you're not real familiar with it. You kind of strange arena. But as you pay attention to it, then everything will unfold bit by bit. And then at the very end, you're gonna see it. Oh, it's right there. It's right there. Do a little bit of method of negation from A to Z. A, oh, this one you can deduct it, then it's not. And then you go one by one by one by one until there's nothing else that you can deduct. But then there is something right there. It's still right there, which is the consciousness, which is the knowing. So during the meditation, at the very first, the mind is very active. You're conscious about it. But then as you go on, the mind becomes softer. It sinks down a little bit. You're conscious about its state of being. And then at the very little bit more deeper, the mind sometimes stop thinking. So there is a gap of emptiness, It's not that nihilism, because if you still know it, you know that the mind is not working. There's nothing within the mind at that time, because the mind stopped working. And right there, the consciousness is still right there, experiencing from the very superficial, agitated, to a little bit deeper and calmer, to a little bit deeper, which is intermittent of working off and on of the mind. Right there, you still can experience it. You look back and you see, oh, there is the knowing. And if you are more meticulous, you pay attention during your sleep. In your dream, which is a different perspective as awakened perspective. Right now we are awakened, we have a perspective, but when we are asleep, we enter the dream, we have a different perspective. And the experience of the waking state and dreaming states are still the same by the experience of knowing. Go deeper in that. Investigate it for yourself until that you become, affirmative that, oh, this is it. And right there is the key of selflessness, because there is nothing else below that. That is the rock bottom of a sentient being, rock bottom of it. And from there that we can move up, do the process of purification, that because of this is the whole thing, this is the whole being, the whole I right there already. And from there that we have a strong foundation to do the purification. And until that you no longer purify yourself, because you're free already. When you're free, you don't have to do anything else. Going back to the example of the monk, his mind is great. I really admire him. It seems as though nothing that can disturb him. Isn't it that what we want? The state of calmness, it's great. I wish I could be part of it, but not yet. But I'm still working on, and one thing that I should warn you guys that once you have touched it, you're not 1 penny richer, but you are million, billion, trillions richer mentally. It's the joy, the happiness, unconditional happiness that comes from that. And this is the quality of all of us. 7 billions of us on this earth are striving for. Just do it until that you get it. And sometimes I apply the slogan, just do it. Just do it in walking. Just do it in eating. Just do it in sleeping. Just do it in being sick. And then at the very end, just do it with dying. And and you will find peace within, and there is some Zen lineage that they emphasize the word justness. Just sit. They emphasize that a lot. Just sit. You don't do anything else. Just sit. When you fully apply that justness, then there is nothing else but sitting. The state of absorption of, in sitting that you sit until that you and the mountain are the same. That is the state of justness that takes you all the way to that. And of course that in that state, the monk and I was talking about the happiness, the mundane happiness. That sometimes we get bored and we go to the movie. We get bored, we go to shopping, window shopping, go to a fancy restaurant, such and such. That is mundane happiness. But you go to a deeper happiness, that you do the right thing. Let's say that, for instance, that you help other people, actually help other people, you become happy. And that is more significant, that's more noble happiness. And then the happiness you attain from the meditation, from you sit, and then when there's nothing else, and then within that nothing else, there is a different dimension that unfolds, and you become happy. And then we go to the unconditional happiness, is that because of you have found the very essence of nature. And that's what we're trying for. Past couple of weeks that I neglected about not letting you, talk about your experience of meditation, and today we'd like to spend some time, talking about your experience of sitting here, so we can study all together with it. So who will be the scapegoat? There's nothing wrong or right, because we all experiencing on the path. Anyone want to share? Please.
Well, I've mentioned before that I often go to sleep while I meditate.
Good.
And I'm not sure it's that negative.
Good.
Part of it is just the way that I am. Even during the day, if I lay down on the floor, I go to sleep very quickly for some reason. I don't know why that is. Just different people are different. Also, I kind of like to stretch while I meditate.
During my study with a big monk in California, I reported to him that my sleepiness, and he was so kind of, oh, good, go sleep. But actually, there is the deeper side, of sleepiness, because of, like I said, what really makes you lose your sleep during nighttime? you think too much. Your mind agitated too much, and that's why you lost your sleep. So for a while, the mind become calm down, up until some point that you pass the perception of awareness of your body, and then you fall asleep. And this is the crucial point that a meditator, this experienced meditator do, is that somehow from the very agitated state, it goes down to a calmer state, to a kind of deep calm state, and then he stays right there, not sinking any more down. So you go to sleep, but you stay right there, a little bit above the sleepy state. That's it, and then he stays right there. It's great. It's very calm. Even though that the fluctuation of the mind is still there, but it's very soft, very soft. Something like that. But if you go below this state, you're gonna fall asleep. So if you can have an experience that you stay right there, then it's great. I mean it's very relaxing.
But that takes effort. I mean, it's like effortless, but it's you have to try.
One thing is that if you try, then you stay. It's gonna bring you back to the awakened state, and
But that doesn't work. I mean, you have to. I mean, it seems like it has to be vacant, but at the same time, there has to be something that keeps you there.
there's an awareness. It's still
Yes.
there.
But that awareness can slip
Awareness
away.
recognizes the state of being, the state of the mental state. So that when you recognize that there is an empty, and there is a slightest, and then that keeps you awake.
Is it like a muscle memory where you don't memorize how to walk, your body just kind of knows it through practice? So you don't have to think, stay awake, stay awake, stay awake, stay awake. You just internalize it.
That is a mental notion is very good to for staying awake. The example of muscle memory is not quite because this is dealing with a subtle state of mind. It requires an awareness, a sharp awareness, because of in that calm state, if you don't have a clear mind, then you don't see that the state of fluctuation, a tiny flux. You don't see it. If you don't see it, you don't detect it, and then if you don't detect it, then that calm empty is gonna bring you down to sleep. Yeah.
There's sort of awareness, the precision is still there.
Yes. Perception is still there. But because of the activity of the mind is so soft, so subtle, then we don't recognize it, and then we let it pass by, and then we sink right into sleep.
The minimum viable awareness.
Yes. Yes. Sometimes we call it the life force. Is in Abhidharma they call it life force. That they're at that level that they can.
But we can be aware while we're sleeping.
Be aware. Yes.
While we're sleeping.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, and dreaming.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't go totally to sleep, I'm still sitting,
Mhm.
and when the meditation session is over, I know it. So, yeah, I'm not totally asleep.
Yes, of course.
And yeah, you're right, I'm a little sleep deprived.
Mhm.
For some reason at night, it's more difficult to go to sleep, but when I meditate, it's very easy.
Then meditate before you go to
At
sleep.
night.
I've tried that, it doesn't work.
It's opposite. When you really want to sleep, you don't, and then when you want to stay awake, then you can't. So, but in the dream, the different active, mental realm is right there. We can experience it, but go deeper. Look into the nature of the dream. Let's say what is there. I would really suggest you that to go into the nature of the dream. That what is it there, to find out more. That because of the dream is a great analogy to unfold the self more.
I've only been meditating for a couple of months, but I've noticed my dreams are more vivid. I don't know if that's common or if there's a reason or any suggestions.
It's nature of the mind that when perhaps you know the double split experimentation. They shoot the atoms into the split and
They're two
slot.
Mm-hmm.
There are two slots, and then they shoot the atoms through that. And when there is no one there to observe that process, the atom lands, everywhere behind that slot. But when there is someone that really sit right there, observe it, and then the atoms go very in order at just two lines. It's very, very interesting.
That's the quantum discussion, right?
Yes, it's really interesting. And when we're not conscious, we're not, as a waking state, we are conscious. So the mind goes in order. It's orderly thinking because we can control it. But when we go sleep, there's no controlling. So the mind works, on its own, creating many kind of different realms, avatars and such a thing like that. So it's very interesting. But the main thing, the most important is that the underlying of that dream, which is the consciousness, is still there. Because of we know that we are dreaming, even though that we are different avatar. Right now, at the waking state, you are John, but when you go into the dream, you may be Ed, you may be something else, but the knowing is still the same. And right there, that the dreaming is the great tool for you to detect and to verify more that the consciousness is right there, is pervasive, even though that we are in a waking state or dreaming state. Anything else? Your experience of sitting?
Yes.
Marcus.
See, well, it's funny, it's today with the AC running, it was kind of different. I noticed the noise a lot more, it's funny, we notice the noise of like cars passing by, we get so used to it, so subtle, it's the same thing. If we get used to AC, then that would be the normal. So I was sitting meditation here, funny is I would sit meditate after a while, I would zone out and I would not hear the AC. And then every once in a while I'll come back again, I'm kind of aware of my body, some of myself, and then I really hear, the AC running. Otherwise, most times I'm sitting, it's like you'll hear the birds, hear the cars go by, a motorcycle, or like today, chainsaw, and you don't recognize, it just comes and goes, but you still, sitting here. So
the continuation of the sound that calms the mind down very good. The sound of the car passing by, because they are very intermittent. The sound of the passing car, intermittent. So the perception grabs on the sound, and then the perception grabs on the silence. And then the cars coming by again, the sound grabs on the perception grabs on the sound again. But today the air running non-stop, and then it becomes very soothing state, and then the mind sinks down, and sometimes it instead of holding on to the sound, it becomes released, and it creates a very calm state of mind, just for the sound.
Yeah, I liked it. I like it.
Me too. Yeah, it was grounding for me.
Yes, it was grounded. I remember that in our country we have a metal roof, so every time that when rain comes, we sleep very well. Yes, and it's the same thing that.
It's like a white noise. Yeah.
So, but just recognize it, and we can go more deeper and deeper, such a thing like that. It's very interesting. The mind, especially the mental formations that we are with. Everybody has the same mental formation. Everybody has the same, but it's different. It is working in different randoms. That's all. Different randoms. Some girls with ABCD, someone go with D A B C, someone with C A or B D. Such. It's different random. That's all. But we all have the same formation, mental factors and the faculties, such and such. And it's very interesting that we go into such and such, and we find out that for instance, that the mindfulness, the intention, the attention, you thought that being mindful is good. Actually, those are mental faculties. They need to promote or demote, because of a monk could use it for enhancing life, but a thief can use the same faculty for stealing things. It's kind of funny. Yeah. He still can be very mindful and very attentive and try to steal stuff. And the monk is very mindful, very attentive to purify his mind. So different purposes, but the same mental faculties. So, see, very interesting. So, anything else now? Yes.
You mentioned about the dream where John might be Ed in the dream.
Yes.
For me, for whatever reason, I always think I'm the same person in the dream, so I'm never somebody else.
Oh,
and I didn't know. I mean, I'm just unaware. I didn't know.
Yes, of course, but it's still the same as of you are right now. You are in a waking state, but when we enter the dream, we bring the whole waking state into the dream. We bring the whole entity of waking state into the dream without knowing it. That's all. So in the dream, you thought that it's you that's dreaming, and it's you that playing the same role. Sometimes yes, and sometimes no, and that's why we cannot control it. Can you control your dream?
No, I cannot, and it's always me, I'm in some embarrassing situation.
Yes,
or
yes.
something like that.
Same thing. That's why we act upon foolishness in the dream, or very few times that we act wise in the dream, especially with something that there was once. I cannot describe this one, but I was I would say about 2,500 years back. I went into that time. I was walking around a castle, and I saw a beautiful being, and I knew immediately that they are devas from different realms. Immediately, I knew that they're devas. And then she talked to me in a kind of language that I don't even know. I'm only speaking Vietnamese and English, and she spoke something totally different, completely different. But immediately I understood that she told me that the Buddha was preaching inside the castle, and that's what's so weird. That was 25 years before, the Buddha times. And when I saw her, I knew that she was Deva from different realm. She spoke to me a different kind of language. It's not English, it's not Vietnamese, but I knew exactly what she said. So it's something that have a connection between the past, the present, and the future. I cannot explain that. So kind of weird.
Did you get to see the Buddha in your dream?
No. When I woke up, why didn't I go into the castle to see the Buddha? I was just walking around. That was a big loss. But anyway, and I hope to dream that again, but no, cannot. So, anything else?
Marcus, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. I usually dream it's myself, but I will dream sometimes of different age. I don't know if you have that. Like I will dream sometimes when I was a kid, but usually it's myself. So I'm just curious if you dreamed of yourself, like at younger stages, maybe older.
I do.
Too. Okay, yeah. You and I are pretty similar in our dreams.
Yes, please.
When I was meditating, I feel like there was, I feel like my mind was like more spacious.
More spacious?
Like I could, like I felt like, I could feel my mind sort of be like more of an open space.
Open space, yes.
And, like I was still thinking about things, but I got to a place where I felt like it was like an open space to see things. And I'm also like working on like some creative projects, so I feel like I kind of had some clarity on some images and ideas in that way. But then I was like trying to come back to my breath still and thinking like, I wasn't really thinking about not thinking about that, but I was also afterwards thinking like, well, is that open space and seeing something like, is that the process, or is the
That's a process. That's a process. We all either this process is that we concentrated on one object, which is, let's say that the breath, or we concentrate on the sound, or we concentrate on the rise and fall of your abdomens. That is to concentrate on one object. But then we alternate. That's the open open the object, which is we don't concentrate on the object anymore, but the mind becomes more open. If there is no distraction, the mind becomes more open. In that case, sometimes that a really big sound comes to you, you become startled, and then your mind focus on that sound right away. But then right after that, the mind release that object, and then you go back to the space, go back to the empty space. It's just the process that sometimes you concentrate on an object, sometimes you don't concentrate on object, you open the mind out. And then another state that you don't focus, but you just be aware. That's it. Yeah. So all of us will be in one of those three stages. You focus on an object, and then as soon as the object wears out, then you go back to being spaces again. And then, but then until that the mind becomes agitated too much that you require an object, and then perhaps you go back to whatever primary object which is suitable to you the most, in order to calm the mind down. Yeah, so it's a process, and it happens to everyone. Yeah, if the mind is real agitated, then you need some object to ground the mind down, so it will become less active. And then the mind is not that active, you can open it out. Yeah, so great. Anything else? May you become immortal in a way of liberation. May you attain the consciousness to knowing which brings unconditional happiness. Thank you. We haven't touched base on the psychedelic. I love that one too.
I think it'd be off topic, huh? Yeah, I'm going in a couple of weeks.